is a really simple rule, and you and I can disagree with it. In fact, I do disagree with it.
Sure.
But here is the rule. You can only be exempt for capital gains tax on the sale of your primary residence. And I think she's in real difficulty.
But this is not the kind of
and
thing
it
that
is
should
such a
resign
trivial amount of money. And I wouldn't mind so much if it weren't for the fact that Labour is so profligate.
I think that she certainly avoided tax. Whether she evaded tax will be the big question. And whether, I suspect that letter probably said, here's a clever wheeze we can do.
It's an absolute scandal, declares Isabel Oakeshott as she confronts Angela Rayner with damning evidence. Labour's deputy leader squirms as Oakeshott exposes the party's contradictory housing policies. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Watch as Rayner attempts to defend the indefensible, luxury accommodations for migrants built without proper planning permission, while British families wait years for a home. The disconnect between Labour's promises and actions has never been clearer.
And it is a classic dodge to pretend that, in fact, the other property that you're selling is your primary residence and your partner lives in that, and actually you're living parallel lives. It is a load of nonsense with our money and proposes ever higher taxes, yet doesn't want to pay them themselves.
Do you really think that this is landing? Because I think that
Yes.
most people... So, so if she revealed that letter, it would show that she was trying to avoid tax, which isn't the done thing, but isn't illegal. And I suspect that's where she's got herself tangled up in.
Angela Rayner's journey from a Stockport Council estate to the heights of British politics is anything but typical. Born into poverty, Rayner faced challenges that would have derailed many. Her mother, unable to read or write, once accidentally fed her dog food, a stark illustration of the hardships Rayner encountered from an early age. At 16, Rayner found herself pregnant and on the brink of a life dependent on benefits. But instead of succumbing to circumstances, she chose a different path. Rayner became involved in the trade union movement, a decision that would shape her political future in profound ways.
But we cannot fall for the BS that the king is going to get involved. This is not going to change the government. Yes, it will absolutely, Isabel, say to this government, globally and at home, not very popular. It's not going to make any difference, though, is it? Come on.
I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election. I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works. There would be plenty of people who didn't want us in the first place.
I mean, just ridiculous. I mean, Nigel Farage is one of the most popular politicians in the country. That's why millions of people voted for him and his party at the last election.
Her rise through Labour's ranks wasn't without obstacles. Even as she gained prominence, Rayner faced attempts to sideline her. In a notable incident, party leader Keir Starmer tried to sack her, but Rayner's resilience proved formidable. Not only did she weather the storm, but she emerged from the attempted ousting with a promotion, showcasing her political acumen and determination. Rayner's working-class roots aren't just a backstory. They fundamentally shape her approach to politics. She's known for her direct, no-nonsense style, often at odds with the polished veneer of many career politicians. "I'm punching above my gene pool," Rayner once remarked, acknowledging the unlikely nature of her ascent, while simultaneously challenging the notion that background should limit one's aspiration. This authenticity has resonated with many Labour supporters. In a political landscape often criticized for being out of touch, Rayner's down-to-earth approach and fiery performances in Parliament have earned her a growing fan base. Her popularity has surged, particularly in contrast to the more reserved style of some of her colleagues. Rayner's impact extends beyond mere popularity. She's translated her working-class experiences into tangible policy achievements. Perhaps most notably, Rayner secured $1 billion for a scheme aimed at doubling the annual construction of council houses. This accomplishment not only addresses a critical need, but also demonstrates Rayner's commitment to improving conditions for those facing situations similar to her own As we turn our attention to Rayner's confrontational style in Parliament, it's clear that her journey from council estate to the corridors of power has shaped a politician unafraid afraid to challenge the status quo. Her performances at the dispatch box have become must-watch events, setting the stage for high-stakes political confrontation. While Rayner's no-nonsense approach had won her fans, it was about to face its toughest test yet. In a televised showdown with journalist Isabel Oakeshott, Rayner found herself on the receiving end of a barrage of pointed questions about Labor's housing policies. What transpired next shocked viewers and sent ripples through the political landscape. The confrontation centered on a contentious issue: housing allocation priorities. Oakeshott came armed with a startling statistic claiming that 5 out of 7 new homes were being allocated to migrants. She pressed Rayner, demanding to know if this was fair to UK citizens who had been waiting for housing for years. 5 out of 7 migrants getting houses most UK citizens can only dream of. Does that sound fair? Oakeshott challenged. Oakeshott's aggressive questioning style left Rayner visibly uncomfortable. The journalist's relentless pursuit of answers and her refusal to accept vague responses put Rayner on the back foot. As the exchange unfolded, it became clear that Labor's deputy leader was struggling to provide clear, concise answers to defend her party's housing strategy. Rayner's performance during this high-stakes interview was far from her usual fiery self. She appeared caught off guard, fumbling for words, and failing to effectively address the statistics Oakeshott presented. This uncharacteristic display of uncertainty raised eyebrows among viewers and political commentators alike. The public reaction to the exchange was swift and largely critical of Rayner. Many expressed disappointment in her inability to defend Labor's housing policies convincingly. Social media buzzed with comments describing her performance as a schoolboy moment, highlighting the gap between her usual confident demeanor and this faltering appearance. This televised confrontation marked a turning point in public perception of Rayner. Questions began to surface about her readiness for leadership and her ability to handle high-pressure situations. The incident exposed a potential weakness in Rayner's political armor: her inconsistent performance in debates, particularly when faced with unexpected challenges. In the aftermath of the Oakeshott showdown, Rayner's performances in Prime Minister's questions, PMQs, came under increased scrutiny. Political analysts noted a pattern of inconsistency in her debating skills, with some questioning whether she could effectively represent Labor in future high-stakes political confrontation. The implications of this moment extend beyond Rayner's personal political future. It has raised questions about Labor's overall strategy and messaging on critical issues like housing. Oakeshott's critique resonated with many voters, highlighting a perceived disconnect between Labor's policies and the needs of ordinary citizens. As the party looks ahead, this confrontation may well influence its approach to leadership and policy communication in the face of an increasingly skeptical public. Angela Rayner's position in British politics is truly unique. She's managed to carve out a space for herself that's both controversial and compelling. Her journey from a council estate to the upper echelons of Labour leadership has resonated with many voters, yet her recent stumbles have raised questions about her long-term viability. As Labour looks to the future, one has to wonder, will Rayner's authenticity and working-class appeal be enough to overcome her inconsistent performances in high-pressure situations? Or will her charisma and forceful personality allow her to outlast her colleagues, as some political analysts predict? Rayner's trajectory highlights a shift in UK political leadership. Gone are the days of polished, career politicians dominating the landscape. Instead, we're seeing the rise of figures who bring real-world experience and a more direct communication style to the forefront. Whether this change will benefit or hinder British politics in the long run remains to be seen.